everybody. I want to thank you once again for coming out. This is a track off the new album, Breadcrumb Elements. I'll put them all in the back here for the book. Oh yeah, thanks for coming out to the universe.
My name's Vincent P. Micko, and I do pretty much all the work. You know what? Don't tell anybody that.
Damn soul after the show, man. Here's a program to my slogan. Hold hands with yourself in a time warp survival hell like me and myself. Do I mean? Let me tell you.
But no, I'm the frontman, creator. I do all the writing, all the arrangement, and most of the kind of day-to-day upkeep and all that shit. Cool. Yeah, it's basically my project, and I got a couple of people that are very generous with their time and helping and stuff. So. I don't really think in terms of genres. I do like to do a lot of stuff that I would consider to be straight hip-hop, stuff that I would consider to be straight like hillbilly kind of folk stuff too. And then in between there I tend to do a lot of really kind of mixed up, kind of bent up, non-genre oriented, quirky, electronic-y, rootsy, bluesy, jazzy, whatever, you know, a lot of different sort of stuff. For me it's more about the quality of lyricism and writing and kind of catching people off guard. You know.
When it comes to government, there's no peace in me till I'm out for government. Completely, I don't ever let you go. You're the one who wants control. I would've just left you alone. I would've never tapped your phone. We would've just been freedom.
A lot of people that kind of believe in the operation and are hopeful to get a paycheck in the future. But no, for instance, you know, my drummer and keyboard player are working for free most of the time, you know, and you know, so am I really. I'm making a few dollars and shit, and things are picking up a little bit, but yeah, we've got Tracy who manages us and does a lot of booking, and my producer Brian Clavey, who does a lot of work on the production end of the albums and everything, and he does the sound for us live for free sometimes. I don't have a hard time meeting new people or networking with people or working with people, and I just tend to expect some bullshit.
All bets are off to the races. Here in the final countdown to the return to homeostasis. Outbound trains back to base, stopping stations in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere. Somehow I always feel at home there, as comfy as an old chair. And then it's back on the road where I go carelessly drunk in a foreign situations and places which put me out of touch with the shoelaces. And then I brace it. And then it's back to homeostasis. Safe in the crystal in a cave and twice as ageless as I go back to homeostasis. I get so agitated I walk around with a bottle of whiskey getting in people's faces. And then somehow it's back to homeostasis. And I get so sick of coming in first place in the rat race, but still having jabroni station like, homie don't play this, homie don't play that. Homeostasis, homie won't say that. Alright, thank you.
You know, I've had people comment that, you know, I like the way he combined the real drums. Well, the real drums are really only on a few of those trio things that he did, you know, with Max and Dan. But the rest of it was all programmed. He really massages the stuff.
Right.
You know, and it sounds very human. You know, it gives it a much more human quality. So, yeah, can I show you the 2-inch machine?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this is an MCI JH24.
Cool.
And it's, we just had the thing, took it down to Nashville and had it rebuilt about a year ago.
Awesome.
And yeah, the thing is just, you know, it's 2-inch tape, you know, so it sounds very old school and has it's a different sound with tape saturation than you get on the computer.
Right.
So for certain things, it's a must, you know. And a lot of guys, that's the only way they'll track drums.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I prefer to track drums on it and then transfer it to mix. But,
And why is that?
because there's a thing called tape limiting. So as you approach 0 on a VU, it actually starts slowing down the signal and causing a compression.
Okay.
So as you saturate the tape, it applies a little more compression, which pushes the peaks down. And some things just sound absolutely fantastic on it. And some things I can't tell the difference between digital and analog. You know, it's just some instruments. It seems like stuff with fast transients, this handles it better. I mean, the machine is aligned at, I think it's +6. So when you're reading 0 here, it's actually playing +6, which isn't even on this scale. +6 would be down here somewhere.
Okay.
So it's it's like faking out the tape
Yeah.
and making it think it's got even a hotter signal, and then when you track it hot, it's very hard to overload it.
Right.
Whereas
Okay.
the digital is like on or off. What's the signature?
Horst Link, he was the president of Sonar.
Oh, okay. But yeah, why don't you show them the hardware on those? Like the whole thing is like building a better mousetrap. But they're solid Babinga wood shells, which they don't make anymore. We encourage people, bring your own amp.
Right.
But then a lot of times guys will come in and say,
What's that?
hey, you mind if I use that? Or,
Yeah.
And the same thing with keyboards. Like, go ahead and bring your keyboard, but we've got a 7-foot grand piano. I mean, come on. But if you want B3, we got a 1956 B3 that was rebuilt by Hammond. Just because it sat for so long. Not because it was used so much. We use it now. But it sat in somebody's home for years.
Oh, wow.
And then we got a 122? I forget the model. I'm not a keyboard player, so I don't remember the model numbers, but a Leslie speaker cabinet.
That's very cool.
And there's other odds and ends. This is a RCA model 44 ribbon. Neumann U87, which is kind of the standard of the industry for large diaphragm condensers.
Old ribbon mics. These have just been restored in recent years
So you're
too.
tired.
It's got a certain sound, and and with everything being digital these days, there's a lot of throwback to like, okay, how do we get some of that more vintage sound back and some of that vibe back? And ribbon mics and tape are really good ways to do that. It's nice to be able to come into a place and just turn it on, go to work, have things right.
Yeah.
The more
Definitely.
you can get better sound, which is the room, the instruments, and the microphones, it makes the rest of the job, mixing and post-production stuff, a lot easier if you get that stuff right.
Get your show here for a show here type of deal or whatever. People are generally willing to act in a communal spirit, but overall there's nothing I'd call a cohesive community of any kind that really builds anything. It's sort of
It's too big of a market, I think, in Chicagoland for there to be
and there's
large communities like that. It's if you were in like say Oshkosh, Wisconsin or something, every band knows every other band up there. So there, it's different. They're physically located
no,
closer.
there's smaller organizations in Chicago and stuff, but
Sure.
as
But
far
they're
as
not
like
huge. They're not all encompassing.
the small band scene, like where I'm at now, the culture is sick, and nobody makes any money except for sleazebag promoters who just try to like talk bands into selling tickets to their friends, like I was talking about yesterday.
Mhm.
And that's who's in control of a lot of the clubs. And there's also, the market is flooded with people who will just play for free and don't expect anything and don't want anything. and they've been taught that they can't get anything, so they've stopped working. They don't try to draw people. They don't try to build anything. So in that sense, it's pretty frustrating how much of a lack of community there really is. And I don't even know if that's different in any other town, really.
There's the guys that like from like the late '90s, early 2000s, the Lucky Boys, and who are the guys? Plain White Tees. You know, those guys
Yeah, I forgot
had
about
a bit
that.
of a scene. It still exists. AM Taxi and Super Happy Fun Club, and
We were
those
part
guys.
of it with Fergus
And
Falls.
those guys all recorded back here in the day, and you know, because I knew a lot of those guys since I was a kid. But you know, even their scene is, you know, they're older now, and it's still kind of limited. You know, they're still kind of that pop punk scene or whatever you want to call it, and you know, again, the community is kind of limited. You know, it's not like these guys are hanging out all together all the time, you know,
Yeah,
working
and
on
they
things
used
all
to-
together.
All of them, by
Although
the way.
they still do all work together occasionally, but you know, that's about as big of a scene as I've ever seen out here.
All of them were all well known for just being untrustworthy and shisty too, though. Everybody in that whole. I mean, that's like how you got ahead, or maybe it's how you still get ahead. Is just by
It is the
fucking other
music
people
business.
over. I mean, the Plain White Tees one time pulled a Blues Brothers on us. We brought like 200 people from our high school to a show that we opened for them, and just packed the place. And like they had done no promotion, done nothing, and they just grabbed the cash and like. Yeah, we're gonna write you guys a check, and just jumped in the car and fucking took off and never returned our phone calls again.
Oh, wow.
Fucking assholes. $250. What's her name? Tom, I think, with the guy with the long nose. And I know he still is around Elmhurst. I've been waiting to catch him where I used to work, but I never did. But anyways.
Might want to edit some of that out.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's
No,
interesting.
I think
That'll
with the
get you-
point towards the camera, I
that's
think you want that in there.
1,500 views on YouTube right there. Just that. Put that in the description.
Right.
Plus, Robot Hilarious calls out.
Plain White Tees still
for a
owes
10-year-old.
local band
Like, from
$250.
12 years ago, yeah. Yeah. It was at the Two-Way Street Coffee House in Downers Grove. I know
Oh,
that
yeah, I know
remember
the
it.
Two-Way Street.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to check that place out for this. I haven't been there. I haven't been there
That place
since.
has been around
been
since
there
like the
forever.
60s.
Yeah.
Very
Um,
old school.
But no, my answer was about Chicago before. About Dupage, I stopped playing in Dupage a long time ago because it was even worse than Chicago. You know, we used to play places like The Lodge or North Beach or shit like that you think are like the bigger clubs in the area. And it's just, people aren't there to see anything new and original.
They want the cover bands there.
So you end up, the successful places in the suburbs end up being the small bars where people are just normal and they're not looking for some like super artistic fantasy in Logan Square, and they're also not looking for some, you know, plastic fantastic cover band, and they might just kind of accept something unique.